Hey guys, I'm Tim.
I'm Mike.
I'm Dan.
This is the Board Game Rundown. Today we are going to review Ra. This is the Pharaoh edition that is filling on Kickstarter now. I believe you can still buy the Pharaoh edition. There's also a regular edition, which we will talk about when we get into the components.
It's available on their website, 21st Century Games. I've checked.
Perfect. Yeah, so we'll talk about some of the differences between the two games component-wise when we get there. But first, everybody watching this, please like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you disagree with Mike or Dan, but not me. Also, we do have a Patreon going, but we don't want you to contribute to that if it would be detrimental to you in any way. But it's there if you want to help out the show. All that business aside, gentlemen, Ra is a reprint of a 1999 Reiner Knizia game. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, but this also is updated artwork by Ian O'Toole, who is, in my opinion, one of my favorite artists. And that is literally my opinion when I say that. But he's one of the best board game artists out right now and working.
Yes.
In this game, just like the original game, I believe there are 0 rules changes. You are going to, on your turn, get to do one of 3 things. You can draw a tile from this monstrous-sized bag, and add it to the lineup here. You can, if there are tiles there, you can bid, right? I'm going to invoke Ra, and I'm going to start an auction. And then everybody, if you start the auction, you have to bid if nobody else has. So be careful when you do that. And then if you win, you're just going to basically swap out your piece with the piece in there. So that is another thing that you're also going to win. So that's something to consider. Then you're going to add the tile to your board. And then the third thing you can do is if you have a god tile and they're kind of like an orangey colored and they got the eye on it. If you have one of those tiles, you can discard that tile in exchange and then take any of the tiles that are up in the auction area. Those are basically the 3 actions you can do. If at any time you draw a red Ra tile, then there is a forced auction. Then everybody has the choice then to bid, starting with the player next to the player who drew the tile. You go through. If nobody bids, that Ra tile is discarded, and then you continue. If this track gets all the way to the end, there's an auction, right? It's sort of like if you had drawn a Ra tile. But then if nobody bids on that, all of these tiles would get discarded because the lineup is full. Other than that, every time you draw a Ra tile, this guy moves down, further down. And when he gets to the end, it ends the round. Or if everybody uses up all their bids, that can also end the round. I have only ever seen it end this way, where they get there. A nice thing they do with this is then you flip it over, and it is now an orange sand timer, but it's also like sand is going down into the timer, so the iconography is strong. And it'll tell you on your board what tiles you score when. They do a nice job of the tiles on the left-hand side of your board are there for the entire game because they've got a little infinity sign or a sideways 8, as I like to call it. And then on the right-hand side of the board, there's a little tile discard, right? Tile arrow. So all of these are going to get scored and then discarded at the end of each epoch. And then the game's played through 3 epochs. Highest score wins at the end, most points. You start with 10 points because you can lose points as you play the game, which I am really good at doing.
Samesies.
But the point tokens are 2-sided, so you can, because your actual score is hidden information.
I like that.
So have I missed anything?
I mean, I'm sure you did, but
listen,
it seemed pretty good to me.
Everybody that just watched that could play Ra and be an expert at it immediately.
This is not a deep how to play video. We won't explain how every tile works or anything like that.
Right.
That is a pretty good gist.
You got a good idea, so let's talk about those components.
Yeah, these components are
15 out of 10.
Yeah,
this reminds me of like when Oceans had a deluxe edition kind of thing, where it's like I feel like eventually this will be the industry standard, and we're just not there yet for like affordability. Right. Like if you want a game to be that $30-$40 kind of area, you're not going to get these components on average yet. But I think that eventually we might start getting Oceans type games or this type game as a standard.
Well, And also, though, I do feel like Oceans, that deluxe edition wasn't.
No, yeah, it wasn't insane.
Wasn't that crazy? And I've paid good money for crazy deluxe edition versions of games. And like Oceans, the deluxe edition for this game is not that nuts.
Right, and that's why I called out Oceans, is because it's the closest we've been to like a normal priced but like deluxeified game.
Yes,
for sure.
Yes, because these token, like the metal chits here for your scoring, is incredible. I love the wood chips you have. They're lighter than you think.
Yeah, because
but the bag is heavy with them all together.
You're expecting acrylic because of their thickness and their sound and everything, but it's just thick boy wood.
Yeah, it really is.
I've now played the new edition, regular edition, and now I've seen this fully deluxeified version. Right. I mean, both are 10 out of 10, like component and art-wise. I would argue that when the metal is just used for scoring tokens, and these you're drawing in the bag a whole lot and you're laying them out, but it's not like a bag builder where I need that like tactile feel. Sure. If you get the regular edition, you're still getting phenomenal components at a reduced price. And I wanted to stress that. You still get the beautiful chunky bid tokens, which I love. And you still get this gigantic first player marker or raw marker for whoever triggers the auctions. So I just want people to know that if you just get the regular edition, these are cardboard, everything else is the same, and it's still super satisfying and looks amazing.
Big old raw bag.
And a gigantic, gorgeous bag.
Yeah.
So no complaints about that version.
No, and that's great. That's one thing, and Dan and I, we've talked about this before, is like, it's just one of the great things about this game is I feel like you can get the regular edition and you're not missing out because it's so good. Again, and also in components and the artwork, the iconography in this game, like I taught this game to my sister 2 days ago, who is like a casual board gamer, right? Like she comes over and play. I know what kind of game she'll like, right? But she's not going to jump in and go like super, heavy and deep. But I taught her how to play this and my nephew from the player boards. The iconography is that good. If you know what you're doing and you have an understanding of the game, you can teach it all right from the player boards. When the scoring happens, what tiles do what. The tiles are clearly marked so like with the symbols at the top, where they go. You just match them on the side.
Yep.
And it's just awesome. I love how easy it was to teach this game. And then immediately, like when we're done playing, she's like looking it up like, oh my gosh, like this was really fun. Like I could play with, and so the components are just top notch. They really are.
Yeah.
It's a great game and also an excellent gateway game.
Mm-hmm. Ian O'Toole has an amazing way of, and I don't know what all goes into it. He might have some buddies that help him out with certain aspects and stuff. I don't know how any of that stuff works, but like he has an amazing talent with, sure, the icons and everything on here is beautiful, but also the way he does things, it's almost like he wants to like be a rule book writer in his spare time, but like he can't, so he's like, I'll just design the iconography and everything so that you don't need a rule book.
Right.
Like his icons do such a great job of, they're so intuitive and they're so useful. It cuts ease of teach. Like it makes it so much easier to teach when Ian O'Toole's iconography and artwork and stuff is in a game. I don't know how he does it. He knows exactly how to line things up and shape things in a certain way to where if you ever have a question, it's like, well, just look. Oh yeah, that's exactly what that means because Ian O'Toole showed us. Well, he's so good at that.
And the other crazy thing though is like, if I were just playing this and didn't see the box cover and somebody was like, oh, that's Ian O'Toole art, I'd be like, what? Because
sure,
it doesn't look like his other artwork.
That's true.
Like what a Clemens Franz game looks like, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know that immediately. And I mean that as a compliment, all right? I mean, just because he just seems to adapt his style and like his color choices and everything to the needs of the game. And so like this still feels very on theme. This still feels very classic, right? Because this is a classic evergreen game, but it looks really good. Like just what a nice, fun way to update this game that we all enjoyed quite a bit in our, in our other game group. Like, like with Bob having gotten the old, and pieced together an old copy, and my sister's got a copy, and we played hers before. But just what a really fresh, update, but still feels very true to the original game and everything.
And to the point of the iconography, it's a 100% language independent game. You
Yeah.
can play it just with icons. So
Yeah.
it's always a good sign that you can play a language independent game with iconography and not get confused when there's no verbiage on any chits anywhere. So, player boards, nothing.
It's kind of like my niece is in high school, and she's in this board game group. And what they would do, one of the things they would do is they would take the rules out of a game, and they would give somebody the game and be like, "How do you play this?" This, I feel like you could honestly figure out how to play by looking at it and figuring it out. If you could figure out that you need to draw the tiles, I think you could figure everything else out. If you could figure out like what to do with this bag, I think everything else.
On the timing of the bidding and everything.
I think everything else starts to kind of come into play, though. You could really figure it out. But yeah, ease of teach was amazing. Components are great. The rule book is very simple, very straightforward.
Yep. Rule book is really good, super thin. They did try to do this skill tree thing on the back that I don't think is as useful as, I don't know, as it's meant to be.
Reference?
Yeah, like it's just like, yeah, okay. Like if anything, this explains what is already explained well in the book in a more confusing way to me.
To be honest, I haven't even looked at it because I was like, I don't know what this is. Like, I want to play raw.
And then the box is beautiful. It does not have any well or anything, so everything's just going to be sitting in there in baggies, right? But
well, in this bag, that bag, and then the other things fold up there. Yeah. Honestly, there's not room for much else. This,
sure,
chonger there just takes up the whole thing.
This is amazing.
Yeah, it takes up the whole thing. But yeah, so no insert to speak of. I jokingly posted on our Discord, like, oh, the insert sucks because there's just not one
loose pieces,
so there's not room for one. But anyways, guys, you got anything else before we go into final thoughts?
15 out of 10 components.
Yep. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. All right, let's do final thoughts. All right, Mike. Give us your final thoughts.
My thoughts on Ra. So I like elegant games where I can get them to the table quickly and frequently. I like Reiner Knizia games, especially with bidding. The bidding in this game is by far my favorite part of the game. The bidding is super interesting. I like how the tiles are accumulating, and at some point the pressure's on somebody to start that auction, because you're looking around the table at the highest bid everybody can put out. And if those bids are higher than yours, you don't want that to accumulate too much or you're not going to get them.
Right.
So that timing of when to bid is very interesting. I also like the way as Ra gets to the very end, if you're the very last player and that push your luck kicks in and you just keep drawing and drawing and drawing until you pull a red, that part's a blast. The set collecting part for me is not as interesting. I wish there was more variation. I actually wish they maybe could have an alternate set of tiles so that these aren't the only tiles that you can bid on. Here's another set of tiles that score in a totally different way. The set collecting part is the less interesting part of the game for me, but I absolutely love the bidding, the timing, and looking at what everybody else can bid and if they can bid. I enjoy the game, and I think it's fun to play. It's a great gateway game, but it's not one of my favorite Knizia games or push your luck games, but it's a solid game nonetheless.
Right on. Dan?
This is by far the best push your luck game that's ever been made. I don't like push your luck. Bidding doesn't do much for me. That whole atmosphere just doesn't do anything for me usually. And I think Ra is a near perfect game. From when I first saw the original and tried to get it kind of played in this game group, and then it kind of went over well, and now I've played it a bunch of times since then. And every single time, you don't just have people having fun. You have people standing up out of their seat. You have people cheering. When we played last time, Tim probably would have won. Yeah. And he raw tile busted on the last round of the game. And all of us were chanting Ra, hoping it would happen. And the second he flipped that red tile over, freaking Spencer stood up. I went like, and like raised my hand, and it took Tim down to third place. Just that bust. Like that happens in this game. And part of it, I don't believe in evergreens really. Except for Ron Puerto Rico. I talk about them all the time. I think those two games hold up amazingly today with still their same base rule set. Like Twilight Imperium's a super old game, but 4th edition is nothing like 1st edition. Like they've changed so much and streamlined things, and Puerto Rico and Ra are like the exact same game, and they are still amazing, near perfect games. There's something about one of the thing. Not only do I think that the gameplay here is just more interesting to me with the set collection and then the type of market bidding that you're doing and stuff. But then also the fact that the game plays in 30 minutes is just huge to me. When I play a push your luck game, I want it to be a short, like fast-paced, fun game. I don't want a 2-hour worker placement game to end up just feeling like push your luck. That's not, I've wasted my time, is how I look at that. We could have just said, hey, you want to play X game? Flip a coin. Heads you win, tails I win, and then we'll play the next game. I don't want to waste 2 hours making a heads and tails decision. This game is 25, 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes if people get like just crazy with what bids they're winning and stuff. But it's a short, fast-paced game with stand-up moments, and this game just hits every nail on the head to me. I love this game.
Yeah, I see your point about the set collection, but I think adding a different set of tiles, that is then you just need to create an not you, but like there just needs to be an expansion, right, made for this, which would require balancing and things like that. And then it ups potentially the complexity and the playtime. Not necessarily bad things, but but that's what you feel like you need to really like
to push it over the edge. I would need more involved in what I'm bidding on.
Sure. Now, for me, I come down a lot closer to Dan on this, where if I don't mind longer games, I will play Twilight Imperium and have a great time. Also can have stand-up moments, right? I love, really good, as long as if it's going to be a long game, as long as there's lots of rewarding decisions and interesting choices, awesome. This guy is short and sweet and to the point. I can bang out a game of it pretty quick. You could even play 2 games of it, right? Because if you're playing with new people, they could very easily be like, all right, let's go again. I can do this better. And I love games that do that, especially when it's a shorter game, because you can just boom, boom, boom. I also love games that are very accessible, and this game is so accessible. One of the fun things, and I love this, is because this game does everything that Dan normally hates in games, and Dan can't help but love this game. To me, that is just another reason why this game is so good. They have gone above and beyond with the production value. And like Mike said, even if you were looking at the regular edition, still beautiful, still a great game, and still fun components, and everything is all there. I just happened to back the Pharaoh edition because
I just happened to.
Well, if you're gonna go in on a GameFound game, you might as well just do it right. But anyways, so I got everything because this was a game I knew I was gonna play a lot. So it was to me also worth the investment of getting the higher dollar version because this is gonna get a lot of mileage on my table. This is a game I can throw in a convention bag, right? We're gonna play this at cons. We're gonna play this at meetups. Like I'm gonna play this at family events. It is so much fun. The press your luck. I don't even care that I came in 3rd place when I played this with Dan and Spencer, but because we were all just like, like losing our minds over it. It was so fun, and I, like I said, I taught my sister and my nephew, and there was like, again, it came down to the end, and you're just like rah 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 rah, and that experience, right? Like any board game you can play, regardless of the length or style, any game you play that you can come away with stories and you're just like, oh, remember last time? Like that's a winner. That is a 100% winner. Unlike Dan, I do believe in the Tooth Fairy and Evergreen games. And this is definitely an Evergreen game. This is one that is a must in anybody's collection. Because I think, again, you're going to get people to the table to play it. It's a great gateway game, but experienced old bitter gamers like me and Dan and Mike can all still have a good time and play it. Because while you're not as excited about this game as we are,
I'll still play it anytime somebody wants to play.
Yeah, right. I mean,
I don't dislike it.
That's the thing. Is
I'm giving dissenting opinions because I know these guys love this game, and I think it's fair for people to know that it is a good game. But in my opinion, I don't think it's a great game.
Right, and again, I don't think that everybody is going to have to love the game as much as Dan and I do, but I do feel like most people are going to come away from this game with a very good experience and have a good time.
Yeah.
Unless you just bust out every time. But that's your own damn fault. That's all
I only draw red tiles.
Bid earlier.
Yeah, bid a lot earlier. All right, guys, let's go into our final scores.
Hey guys, I'm Spencer from the Board Game Rundown. I wanted you to know that we have started a Patreon. Right now, it's $5 to join. It's going to help us a lot. We want to give you more content like this, and if you want more content like this, help us out. Like I said, it's $5 right now. It may start going up if we get a lot of people. So get in early, and it's exciting. So help.
Daniel.
Hey guys, so we're each going to rate the game from 1 to 10, and we do use 0.5s because of variability. Then at the end, we're going to average those scores together so that there's just one score to put on Board Game Geek, Discord, any area that you might want to look for a board game score.
Nice.
And if you wanted to know what it would sound like if the Fonz explained our scoring system, you now know.
Okay. Who's the Fonz? I was kidding.
He's too old. Or too young.
Yeah, way too young.
Fonz is too old. He's too young.
Yeah. Poor Henry Winkler. All right, Mike, what do you got? What's your score?
To cut to the chase, it's a 7.5 for me, which
Okay.
makes it a good game, not a great game. I'm actually on the fence about whether I want to purchase this game.
All right.
I think the timing of when you bid is awesome. I love bidding that makes you pay attention to what other players are doing, what they're collecting, when they're going to want to stop and start that bid. I think this whole mechanism is excellent. And again, I love Knizia bidding games, and this part does not disappoint. The set collecting is a little flat for me, and that's what keeps it from scoring higher. I still enjoy the game, and I'd still play it anytime somebody asked me to. At that play time, why wouldn't I? So.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan.
Hi, yep. I've talked about it before, but again, Ra's a near perfect game. To me, it's a 9.5 out of 10. I freaking love it. The only reason that I probably won't buy it is because there's gonna be 3 or 4 in my game group.
Yeah,
Like, I
there's
just
already 3.
Yeah, like I just don't like that. It just feels like a waste of money to just have mine sitting on my shelf, and then it's like, oh, we're going to Tim's. I guess we're probably gonna play Tim's copy. I don't need to bring mine, you know. So like, that's the only reason that I wouldn't buy this game. I highly recommend it to anyone. I'm sure there's some more I could say, but I guess the last thing I'll jump in on is because Mike's been hinting towards it a lot, and I really like the control you have, because if you have the highest bid marker, you're in control. You can do anything you want. You know you're going to win that whenever you want, right? But if you have the lowest bid marker, you just start a bid on every single one of your turns, and you are forcing everyone to make this constant annoying decision, knowing that you're making more raw tiles come out too and stuff by all these decisions, and you are trying to force people to run out of time before they get their bids in. And guess what? If there's only 3 tiles here and they're okay, and the guy with the 12 doesn't want to do it, but you only have a 2, you're like, yeah, I'll gladly take those 3 tiles with 2. Oh, do you guys not want them? Oh, okay, I guess I'll make the easiest decision I've ever made in my life. And then everyone goes around, comes back to me. I invoke the power of Ra. Do you guys want to make a hard decision? Because I'll just take all those tiles for super cheap again. Like, the power that both sides can swing is impressive to me, and it's a 9.5.
I can't tell you also how many times I would not bid, like, because I had higher tiles.
Sure.
Because that dang one is hanging out up there.
And it's like the most beautiful
Oh,
mark
it's gotta
ever.
be. It's gotta be so good. Yeah, this is a 9.5 for me too. I feel like if it did have the stuff that Mike wants in it, because I don't disagree.
And I wouldn't want those things to add time to the game. I think the time is perfect.
If there was like an expansion to this, you know, it could be a 10.
Sure, that helps any game.
Sure.
Swapping out the cards you're using for set collection, yeah, that helps every game. As long as it's balanced right, you know, for this, absolutely add it. I
No issues with balance. I just, this the scoring system.
Yeah,
is
sometimes you just need a
okay
little bit
for
more.
me.
Sure.
And I get that. There's definitely games where I'm like, I just need more from this than what it's giving me. But no, for me, Raw, it just hits, it just checks all the boxes. It's right in that sweet spot where it's just, I just love games that play like this. Super fast, easy to learn, easy to teach. And then especially if everybody's already played, then it's really on because you're going to get nuts, right?
Sure.
And like, yeah, so I cannot wait to take this to conventions and just be playing this with whoever is foolish enough to sit at the table with people and have a go at it. So,
Sure. So all those scores added together give us an average for the Board Game Rundown umbrella of an 8.8. We just missed the 9.
Yeah.
But that's a fantastic score.
It's a great score. I think everybody here, we all play the same game, right? We all had a good time, and so yeah.
It's a solid game.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. All right, guys. So we love Raw. We love Raw. Some of us more than others, but we all like Raw.
Love Raw.
Yeah. We love Raw. We like Raw. Quite a bit.
I like Rob.
But anyways, for the Board Game Rundown, I've been Tim.
That was Mike.
Dan.
Rah, 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 rah,
Rah.
rah, rah, rah,
Rah.
rah, rah.